Have you ever looked at a big company and wondered, how do they seem to know what's coming next? Well, I'll tell you, it's not magic. It's not some lucky guess. It's all about data. And today, we're going to pull back that curtain. We're going to build our very own data-driven crystal ball. Let's get right into it.
I mean, this is the big question, right? You've got customers, competitors, a crazy economy. Trying to predict the future can feel, well, impossible. But what if you could find a clear, predictable pattern in all of that chaos? That's exactly what we're setting out to do today. Okay, to solve this puzzle, we're going to use a case study. Let's imagine a tech company. They're doing pretty well, but they don't really know why. They desperately need to figure out what's actually driving their monthly revenue so they can stop guessing and start planning for the future with some real confidence. And see, that's the heart of the problem for so many businesses. They are sitting on mountains of information, sales numbers, marketing budgets, customer reviews, you name it. But right now, it's just noise. It's just a giant spreadsheet of numbers. Our job is to turn all that noise into a clear signal, to find the story the data is trying to tell us. So here's what we have to work with. These are our puzzle pieces. First up, monthly sales revenue. That's the thing we're trying to predict. And then we have our potential clues. How much are they spending on ads? How complex is their product? And what's their customer support rating looking like? So where do you even begin with all this? Well, the first step in any good investigation is to look for simple connections. We need to find our first real clue, that first thread we can pull on to start unraveling this whole thing. And that first clue, more often than not, is something called correlation. It's a really simple but powerful idea. Basically, it asks, when one number goes up, does another number go up with it? It tells us that two things seem to be connected. But, and you gotta remember this, it's just a hint. It's a clue, not a conclusion. It doesn't tell us why they're connected. Before we go any further, I want you to keep this fantastic quote in mind. When we talk about building a model, we're not trying to create a perfect, 100% accurate replica of reality. That's just impossible. What we're really building is a map, a simplified but really useful guide that helps us navigate the real world and make much, much better decisions. Okay, with that in mind, let's build our first simple map. Let's take our first crack at it. We're going to create a very basic version of our crystal ball, a forecaster that tries to predict sales using just one single clue from all our data. Let's go after the most obvious suspect first: advertising spend. It just makes sense, right? You spend more money on ads, you should get more sales. So we're going to use a simple tool that basically draws the best possible straight line through the data to describe that relationship and tell us just how strong that connection really is. And boom, here's what it tells us, 73.66%. So what does that number mean? Think of it this way. It tells us how much of the sales puzzle we can solve with just this one clue. In this case, our advertising spend alone can explain almost 3/4 of why sales go up or down. That is a huge piece of the puzzle from just one factor. And the model also gives us this, which is incredibly practical. For every extra $1,000 the company pumps into advertising, our model predicts that sales will increase by about $930. All of a sudden, that marketing budget isn't just an expense. It's a predictable lever you can pull to drive growth. But hang on a second. Is it really that simple? Of course not. The real world is messy. Sales aren't just about ads. By focusing only on this one thing, we're making a classic mistake. We're giving advertising all the credit, when other things, like the product itself or customer service, are obviously part of the story too. This is a real problem in data science called omitted variable bias. So, what's the solution? Well, it's time to upgrade our crystal ball. We need a more powerful tool, one that can look at the whole picture and see how all of our clues work together. This is where we bring in the heavy machinery, a technique called multiple regression, to build a way, way better forecaster. And this really shows the upgrade perfectly. Our first model was kind of like using a microscope, right? We were looking at one single relationship in total isolation. Now, we're swapping that out for a telescope. We're building a model that can see the bigger picture, one that analyzes how advertising, product complexity, and support ratings all work together at the same time to influence sales. And when we put these two models head to head, it's not even close. The new one is the clear winner. First, its R-squared is higher, so it now explains almost 78% of the sales puzzle. Even more important, its prediction error is lower. You can think of this error score like a golf score: the lower, the better. It just means our new model's forecasts are consistently closer to what actually happens in the real world. Now, this new model gives us something incredibly powerful, a recipe for sales. It tells us the specific impact of each ingredient. So advertising, yep, it still matters. $1,000 in spend adds about $930 in sales. But look at this. Improving the customer support rating by just a single point is worth over $1,200 in sales. And here's a shocker. Making the product more complex actually hurts sales. This isn't just data anymore. It's a strategic roadmap.
So we've built a better model. We have our recipe. What now? Well, now we put it to work. Let's shift gears from just understanding what happened in the past to actually predicting the future and making some really smart decisions. All right, time to put our new crystal ball to the test with a real-world scenario. Let's say management comes to us and says, we need a sales forecast for next month. They've already set their budgets, they know their latest performance numbers, and now they just need a solid number they can plan around.
The process is actually super simple. Step 1, we plug in the plan for next month. That's a $60,000 ad spend, a product complexity score of 7, and a support rating of 4. Step 2, our model takes those numbers and applies that sales recipe it learned from all the historical data. And step 3,
out pops our prediction. The model forecasts that with this exact plan, the company can expect sales of about $255,000. Now, that's not a guess. That is a data-driven forecast. It's a number that lets a business plan their inventory, their staffing, their finances, all with a ton more confidence. So there you have it. We started with a confusing pile of data, and we ended with a pretty clear vision of the future. We've shown that a model isn't some perfect photograph of reality, but it is an incredibly useful map. It gives you the power to not just react to what your business is doing, but to actually actively shape its future. So the only real question left is, what will you do with that power?